going to get into this third game, and this third game really said a lot for me. We are going with LSU Clemson. LSU wins this game 17-10. And again, another example of these low-scoring games, like I said, these offenses not getting full-speed reps. I think 100% goes into these low-scoring games. But I am shocked at LSU. Now, I'm not shocked that LSU win this game, but I'm shocked the way they won this game. I had questions with LSU's defense. I thought their offense was arguably the most talented offense in college football, but I had reservations on their defense. Just because the last 2 years of LSU defenses have been super rough. When we look at LSU defenses the last 2 years ago when they had Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and they were putting up like 40, 50 points a game and still couldn't make the college football playoffs because their defense was just letting up 30, 40 points a night as well. That had trouble for me. And then last year, again, I feel like they also didn't make the college football playoffs because their defense wasn't an above-average defense in the SEC as well. So I had questions coming in for LSU's defense. And this is what really shocked me and why we might have to really look at LSU as a national championship favorite team, because this defense absolutely closed out against Clemson. They looked phenomenal. This defense was flying. Now, when I went over this LSU defense all off season, I have told you guys they have 2 stars on this defense. When we look at Whit Weeks, when we look at Harold Perkins, like 2 guys that are able to close out like nobody else in the country, they are 2 stars in this defense. But when you look at the receiving core that Clemson has, arguably the best receiving core in the country, when you look at Brian Resco Jr., TJ Moore, and Tony Williams, absolutely locking up this Clemson receiving core. Like, again, they still had 230 yards of receiving, but again, limited them to 10 points. And the way they were able to scheme up against Cade Klubnik, like on major downs in this game, when we look at third, fourth downs, gotta have it type of downs, they got to the quarterback. They closed out on Cade Klubnik, and on multiple third and fourth downs in the second half, Cade Klubnik had absolutely nowhere to go early, absolutely no time. They were getting to him, especially to a above average offensive line in Clemson and an offense, like I said, that is absolutely insane in Clemson with depth. Now, the one question I did have about Clemson all off season, the only weakness I believe this team had was their run game. I didn't know what they were going to do in their run game. They didn't really do much in the transfer portal to help the run game, and we saw it. They had 31 yards. Now, I thought they were going to go to Gideon Davidson, but he didn't really get any carries in this game, and they couldn't get anything going in the run game. And I think that was the biggest difference as well. LSU had 108 yards rushing to Clemson's 31. Again, 108-yard rushing, not really like a phenomenal rushing total, but that's a big difference. That's 70 rushing yards. And if Clemson's going to be a team that's not going to be able to run the ball, they're going to be in some trouble because you have to have a run game to win a national championship for sure, as both these teams are national championship contenders. Now, for Clemson, people were saying that they don't have a LSU-style receiver, but I think collectively on this LSU receiver room, I think they have a lot of talent. Aaron Anderson, I thought, was the guy that was making huge plays after the catch in this game. He had 6 receptions for 99 yards. I like the burst he has. I mean, they have a track team. Barry Brown as well. He has elite speed. Again, you didn't really see much of it in this game, but I thought he's a guy with a lot of talent. We obviously talked about Nick Anderson all off season. He didn't do anything in this game, but another guy that makes his receiving room deep. This receiving room could go 5 guys deep. Caden Durham was the difference, I believe, in this game. Like I said, he was able to run the football. Clemson wasn't. He had 17 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. A guy that I believe could be one of the best running backs in the country for sure. A guy that I thought was one of the best freshmen for sure. And I thought Garrett Nussmeier looked pretty good. Again, there wasn't really a quarterback that I was really insanely high on in this college football slate week 1 on their performance was what I wanted to say out of like the top Heisman favorite. But I thought Garrett Nussmeier played really well. I mean, we saw at half 10-3. He couldn't really get anything going. And then he did enough to win this football game for sure. He could have had another touchdown. Again, that's the thing we got to talk about with this LSU game. The touchdown that got called back, and it was a very similar touchdown in the South Carolina game that we'll get into very shortly as well. What I wanted to say is, like, the standard for a catch now is so high. Like, you have to have it all the way to the ground. And we saw the call got reversed. And I don't mind it in both scenarios in this game in South Carolina. Like, you really got to survive the ground. The standards for a catch are high, and I believe both receivers didn't survive the ground. But again, Garrett Nussmeier did enough to win in the second half. He put in 2 touchdowns. And I think the biggest thing, like I said, for this LSU team, I didn't expect this defense to be an elite defense. And after week one, I said I don't like to overreact, but they did it against one of the best offenses in the country, absolutely shut them down 210 points, closed them out. Like, if this LSU defense is elite with how great their offense is, they could be the most balanced team in college football. They could be the team with the most talent in college football. Like, I am completely shocked. And that's the one take in this week one that I am really willing to change my perspective on. Like, LSU could really be a problem in college football. If this defense is going to fly like this all year with the offense they have, they're going to be an absolute problem. And they could be, again, halfway through the season, the favorite to win the national championship. This LSU team has a ton of talent. Now, I'm not super high on Brian Kelly, again, over the years, but I wasn't super high on Ryan Day either. He won a national championship last year. Like, sometimes just talent outweighs, and this LSU team has a ton of talent. Now, when you talk about this LSU Clemson matchup, who really needed this win more? No doubt it was LSU. We were saying it in a lot of our previews. Like, if LSU doesn't come away with this out of conference win in week one, it could be very tough for them with a tough SEC schedule. And again, for the teams in the SEC, like a Texas, like an LSU, that played the toughest possible out of conference matchup you could play and then got to go into an SEC schedule, it is huge to have a week one win. So LSU definitely need this more. Clemson in the ACC, like, they're going to be a heavy favorite in almost every matchup. I'm not worried about Clemson making the college football playoffs. Again, they could really win out, in my opinion. Like, the next toughest matchup they play is South Carolina in the last week. So, again, I'm not too worried about Clemson. I'm not hitting the panic button on Clemson. But for Clemson to be a national championship contender, you got to be able to run the ball. So they got to find something in this running game throughout these next 9 or 10 weeks before they play South Carolina, in my opinion. That's the biggest thing for me with Clemson. But am I worried about Kate Klubnik? No, not really. Am I worried about this receiving core? Definitely not. Worried about this defense? I'm not worried about this defense either. Again, they were playing a top offense, and at the end of the day, they held them to 17 points. So, again, I do definitely think Clemson is one of the best teams in the country, and I do think Clemson is in a really good spot with their ACC schedule. Just the running game is just really only have worries for Clemson. And then for LSU, like, their ceiling could be absolutely through the roof because, again, if I expect LSU to win this game going into this game, I thought it was going to be in shootout fashion. I did not think it was going to be this LSU defense flying around. This LSU defense could be one of the best LSU defenses we've seen in the last, like, 4 or 5 years. So, wow. Like, LSU, if you're an LSU fan after this game, you got to be extremely, extremely high on what you saw. Like, LSU, we may have to rethink some things, podcast. We may really have to rethink some